Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, friends and colleagues, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank QS for their kind invitation to speak to such distinguished audience, and hope that whatever I'm going to say will be according to your expectations. I would also like to thank the organizers, Ahliya University and Bahrain University, for giving Bahrain the opportunity to look into QS, closer look, have more audience here from Bahrain. This is a great opportunity for all of us, and welcome all of our guests to Bahrain, as all said. And I don't want to add, but we welcome you, Bahrain, with all our hands and our heart, warm heart. To start, I looked at the title of this conference, University Excellence in All Its Forms. It's very attractive. It actually had so much thoughts of what to say to talk to this title. University, there are so many definitions of universities. I chose this one to share with you. A large and diverse institution of higher learning created to educate for life, for profession, and to grant degrees. What attracted me is to educate for life. A number of our speakers today, they actually emphasize that, and I do emphasize that. Life is changing, so education has to change to adapt to these changes. And we will talk about the challenges and the changes that we expect. I like Dr. Riyad's phrase of saying that we need to prepare what's beyond the curve. The curve is actually very high and very steep. We really have to be well prepared for it. Excellence, again, so many definitions. I chose one to share with you, to say is a quality which is usually good and so surpasses ordinary standards. It is also used as a standard of performance measurement. Standard of performance measurement. So excellence needs to be measured. We have to have certain criteria to measure it, to differentiate the different excellences that's happening in our universities. Forms. Forms could be interpreted as the different methods of measuring excellence, could be the criteria that are there to measure the excellence. So the criteria could be governance, teaching and learning, graduate employability and employer's reputation, human resources and infrastructure, research, efficiency of internal quality management. We need to have all of these criteria embedded in any system, whatever method we are using, in order to measure or evaluate the excellence of the institution. We need to have this. And if we have the internal quality management well planned, well done, well prepared, actually the other methods of measuring quality or measuring excellence will be too easy to apply. The different methods, we have quality assurance, we have accreditation. Actually, I do strongly believe that they are two faces for one coin. They have the same process, almost the same criteria that they want to test. The difference actually, if you go to the States and you talk about quality assurance, they might not know what you are talking about because they don't use the term quality assurance. Actually, in one of the conferences that I was presenting, a colleague from the States, he just said, we don't have quality assurance. I said, you have it, but you call it accreditation. That's actually how it is. So it's actually one coin with two faces, two names. If you go to Europe, they use quality assurance. But people from state, when they come, they use interchangeably quality assurance and accreditation. Ranking. Ranking is another method of evaluating or ranking, as we say, the different institution according to certain criteria. And as they say, and being from accounting background, they say numbers talk louder than words. So all universities, they want to get the best number that ranking systems would give. All of these methods actually have criteria to test, and they have certain processes to do. All in all, they just want to tell us whether these institutions are according to requirement, according to expectation. They will produce the students that we actually need them for the labor market, all of these things. But a question might come of why do we need to evaluate universities' excellence? Why do we need to evaluate universities? Some universities might like that question and say, yes, why do you do that? But there are a number of questions or actually issues that need us to evaluate institutions. The demand of higher education. Now the number of students that is demanding higher education is increasing as we speak. Actually, over the 50 years between 1960 and 2012, the number increased 20 times. It is expected to be double by 2025. It is increasing regardless of the number, whether it's exact number or not, but by default it is increasing, and we need to be prepared for such huge mass increase. Now, universities, to meet these demands, they are expanding, accepting more students. They are actually having increasing diversity in their programs. Field have subfield, and you could imagine, what with the development in technology and science and all of that, also new fields are going to develop. Competitive environment, nationally and internationally, with so many students, with so many awareness, they want to be competing over the number of students that they have. Although some, they complain of the number of students that they have, but competition of producing better quality graduates, that's also a competition. Private providers, it's a must now. With so many students being there, it's to meet the demand of the huge number that we have. It's also to have more variety and choices for the student to go to different universities in higher education. They say that 30% of students are actually enrolled in private providers' institutions. Distance education. Distance education is actually a fact of life. Whether we actually recognize it or not, it's there, especially for countries with mass distance, with distance between the different parts of the country. Also for those who cannot afford to go to a physical or to go to a traditional university, that's also another issue. So it's a challenge of how to quality assure or accredit or mobility and cross-border higher education. Now, students are moving to get education. Faculty are moving also to teach with all of these varieties that we have. Employees, now as a graduate, I will be going to another place to work. All of these mobilities and mobilities of universities themselves between countries, all of these are issues that need to be evaluated. Now, moving across the world, we need to recognize the qualification. That's also another issue that require evaluation of these studies or these universities. Diminish public trust and confidence. I believe so many of you, whether you are universities or you are educators, actually parents will come to you and ask you, which university should I apply for my kid? Okay, so they need someone to give them a trust in this institution and what does it provide. Government, even, I'm not just talking about private universities, even public universities. Government, they spend so much money in public universities. So are you producing what you are promising to produce? Is that the quality that we want our next generation to hold in terms of education? Need for transparency and accountability. This is something that now in real life, you need to be transparent so that people trust you and assure them of what you are doing. Now, there is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. They have 17 goals that all countries now are trying to achieve and working towards building the phase toward achieving it. Goal number 4 states that to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. This is something now we as educators try to work towards, to achieve. There are so many challenges facing us. Number one of them is actually the increasing demand. As we said, it is a challenge. It's a huge challenge everywhere, not just in our countries, it's all over the world. Inconsistent teaching quality, not just between institutions, it's within the same institution, it's sometimes within the same department or program. So this is a challenge that we need also to take care of. Mismatch between skills and labor market needs. A number of employers, actually, they complain that the graduates are actually not meeting our needs. We need to put them into programs of training or rehabilitate them in order to work what we want them to do. That's a challenge. Ill-adapted programs to today's needs and future possibilities. Today's needs, we spoke about it, employers are complaining. Future possibilities. Dr. Riyad also mentioned that there are jobs that we don't know about. They do not exist actually. With technology changing everything, there might be things that we could not even imagine. So how to prepare the student for something that you don't know anything about? Actually, we need to work here. We need to have them have the abilities, the higher thinking order abilities. We need to encourage that rather than looking at or just getting them the basic needs of memorization and just knowing the basic of what they need to do. Dropout rates, with the high increase in number of students all over the world, actually this is an expected result that we also will have higher dropout. This will be actually a waste of resources that was spent on them. It's waste of time, university time, student time, faculty time. It's also a frustrating issue that we have to handle later on. He is not graduating, he will not be employed. That's also another issue and a challenge in society. Unutilize potential for national, regional, and development and innovation. Now, especially in our part of the world, we are more concentrating on teaching. Actually, this is the phase that we are in. And it's not something, a problem, or it's something that we should be ashamed of. This is a phase of life. But we are missing opportunities for development and for innovation that we need to concentrate on. So maybe organizing things that would be a solution or facing this challenge, which is, I'm not putting any solutions for anything, by the way. If by mistake I say something as a solution, don't take it as a solution. I mean, that's why we are meeting here and other convention, other conferences, is basically to discuss these issues and try to find a way to manipulate these challenges somehow. Lack of links between education, research, labor market needs and innovation. That's basically similar idea to that one, but we need to link them all to get better potential of what is there in the future generation. Conflict and prolonged crisis in certain areas in the world, whether religious reason, political reason, these conflicts actually are problems, and it's not just to the country where it is, it's around the area, if not beyond that. These conflicts actually widening the inequities within the country itself, between this country and the other, between generations. As a parent, you could be a full professor, but your kid or your grandkid might not be able to get the basic education. And we could also say the same difficulties of accessing higher education. So I'm saying that might be difficulty for elementary. What about higher education? There are other challenges, but more into the technology advancement and its relationship with education. Technology is a beautiful thing. You cannot move now. No one can move without his phone, and maybe as if our life is attached to it. It's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. I'm sure all of you believe that we are in between. The future generation might not be able to recognize a book. That's a fear that we have. Actually, one of my friends told me that she bought a book, a story, for her kid, for her daughter, and her daughter with beautiful colors and everything, and her daughter came to her and she said, something wrong with this thing. I said, what's wrong with it? It's not moving. She's trying to flap the pages. So this is what they know. They know things that are moving. They don't know anything that is still. I did it once. I was trying to enlarge a paper. That's how it's affecting us, and we are adults. So what do you think of the coming generation? What will be in their future, or their kids for that matter? Technology methods of teaching and learning, it's affecting our teaching and learning. I talked about memorizing things and going to the exam and writing what you read or what you memorized. There is an invention with a contact lens that you will put it there and you will just blink and it will flip any website, any web page. So basically, you don't need to memorize. So again, I'm re-emphasizing that we need to pressurize the way to learn or to teach our kids to use their higher order thinking in that sense. I don't know how to do that, but this is a fact now happening. Social media and its effect on communication. Yes, technology is affecting our communication. You could send your homework to your students and they could send you back their answers, but also it's affecting our social life. I'm not just talking about families not talking to each other. Even us, we talk to those friends or colleagues who are distant, but we don't talk to those sitting next to us. That's also a problem. It's a society problem. And all students are coming from society. We are coming from society. So this is a very important issue. Open university and distance learning. It's something that, as I said earlier, it's a fact of life. It is a fact of life. It's actually now Google and Amazon are building university, virtual university, real university. It's how the issue is, or the question is that how do we prepare ourselves as excellence evaluators? How do we evaluate these systems, these changes? We need to be prepared, not just as universities, but also us, ranking, quality assurance, accreditation. We need to rethink of how to do that in a way to face these challenges. So these challenges actually require changes and advancement in the different forms, and here forms could be the criteria, could be the method of testing these criteria of university excellence to enhance quality. I'm moving now to Bahrain, to a pleasant place that you are in. I gave you so much challenges, so much pressure to think about so many things that I hope will be some sort of discussion or keywords for discussion while you are here for the next 2 days. But just to give you also a short story of Bahrain, trying to enhance quality, to improve education in the kingdom. Just historically of the education development, prior to the 19th and 20th century, and even during that period of the 19th century, the teaching is basically of teaching how to read and write, how to calculate, And that's done through al-mutawwa that we call, or the person, man or woman by the way, who would teach you how to read Quran and how to write. In 1919, the first formal school, boys' school, was established in Bahrain. 1928, the first girls' school, official girls' school, was established. 1968, the first public higher education institution, which is Gulf Technical College. In 1986, it transformed into being the University of Bahrain, which is the first public university in the kingdom, and 2001 was the first private university to be licensed, and we are lucky here that our partners are actually University of Bahrain, the first public university, and Ahliya University, the first licensed university in the kingdom. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, when he started his ruling of the country in 1999, he actually had a Bahrain reform project where we were into reformation of economic, political, and social life in the kingdom. So many changes were happening. Huge attention was given to education, as it is the preparation of the future generation. The development of education and training. In 2005, His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad, the Crown Prince, actually established a committee chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Mubarak. They were to scan the most developed countries in terms of education and see the big experiences there that we could adapt or apply in Bahrain. In 2008, the initiative started to come. Bahrain Polytechnic, Bahrain Teachers College, Schools Improvement, and the Quality Assurance Authority. All of these actually started with partnership with international bodies, so that we don't start from scratch. We actually start from where others ended. And that's how we could also progress quickly. In 2010, there were two other initiatives, Higher Education Strategy and the National Qualification Framework. That's also another issue or challenge that we are facing when we say qualification to be recognized in different parts of the world. Qualification framework is part of that solution. I'm not saying solution, but you know what I mean. 2012, this new initiative was actually added to the responsibility of the National Quality Assurance Authority. And 2015, the Committee for Education Reform actually was established by a decree from His Royal Highness, the Prime Minister, Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman, where a Supreme Council actually was established, and this has the umbrella of all parties in education and training, that they communicate to each other to have coordination and cooperation issues to be done between them, so that we have quicker achievement of the Vision 2030. Bahrain Economic Vision 2030, actually, as has been also said, we want to move from oil-based economy into an economy that produces globally competitiveness, and it's more of a knowledge-based economy. There are a number, or actually 3 principles that the Vision 2030 is embracing: sustainability, competitiveness, and fairness. Higher education goes back to our story that we started with education. Higher education, we already said 68 first public higher education institution. First university was in 86. 2001, first private institution. And now we have 13 institutions, 2 public and 11 private, one also additional one just being approved by the HEC, that will be starting hopefully by September. So the number, as you see, is increasing. Of course, we have a well-known, well-reputed university, which is the Arabian Gulf University. It's under the GCC umbrella, and it's something that we are really proud of to have here in Bahrain. The Vision 2030, part of it is actually to have a city of higher education in the kingdom. The government actually is encouraging investment in higher education with certain rules, regulations that we have, of course, to make sure that the quality, the output of these universities is to an acceptable international standard that we wanted to have. I have this Malcolm X phrase: education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. This was said in the 1960s, and it's still applicable now. I think it will be applicable in the future. We need to really prepare for the future, because the future is for our descendants. It's actually for the generation to come. It's something that we want it to be prettier than what we have. And when we equip them with the right equipment, the right education, I do think that we will be looking at them from up, hopefully from heaven, to say that we did a good job there. So Bahrain is also trying its best to have the future ready for our kids, for generations, and I know, and I'm sure all countries are doing that to have a better future for the future generation. Thank you very much, and wish you all the best.